Hello there, my name's Fiona and I'm going to be doing tote bags. I've got 3 designs that I'm going to be doing. Now this one up here, hope you can see it, is literally a canvas and then I've painted with acrylic 2 pictures on each panel. A picture on each panel. So with these panels I'm then going to sew a band around the outside and then so that the bag is like that, and then the band and then the big handles. Okay, so I need to cut out. These have been drying now for probably 4 days. Now as long as they're properly dry they will survive the washing machine, even though I'm going to write on it hand wash only. Okay, so tote bag it is. Oh, it's going to be lined and I'm going to use a zip pocket. I know, how sweet is that? Okay, I'll be back in a minute with my pattern cut out. Okay, well back to it. I guess the easiest point to start at is sewing the lining. I don't know, I'm none the wiser. Yeah. So what I have here is I have my strip that goes right around the outside and I have the lining of the panel. I'm going to give myself some hem allowance and I'm just going to make sure that that's the side rather than the... Yeah, that's the side rather than the bottom, because it's nearly square. Now the only thing I can say about my machine is it does this when it's hot. I'm sure if I tried to replicate it when I needed it to pucker stuff, it wouldn't. But I've had a fiddle with the buttons and it's still doing it. But as we're making a bag, we should be fine. It's nice to blame the weather, because we've got sunshine on a rainy day. So what we've done is we've cut a long strip of fabric and we've just gone round the 2 sides and the bottom of the lining. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this out as a unit and I'm going to just sew the strip onto the other panel. So if I open that out and then I have my other panel here, again I want to check that that's the side and that's the bottom. I know, it's very similar, you see, it's too similar. Now I really want these 2 to line up, okay? So I'm just going to ignore that and I'm just going to make sure that these 2 line up. In fact, you can trim that. I must admit, I cut this out last night and started sewing it, and I cut it out too small, so I'm kind of reacting. I'm just coming up to the bottom. I might as well try and miter the corners. I've got my needle down, I'll lift my foot up and there we are. we have here is literally the square. Okay, so that can go on the side. I have the panelling again for this. Now I need to make sure that my hedgehogs are on the inside. I know. Nice, warm and snug. So let's just go around with that. Yeah, funny machine. Okay. So that's staying down and then I'm going up. Now there's no reason why you can't even sew across this paint. I would give it, you know, a good long while to dry, because I thought it was completely dry, but I had to sort of peel it off the board. But we're getting there, so you know, I'm sure this weather helps it dry. So yes, we have to do the same again with the body. We're halfway through now, and I'm trying to get my corners as sharp as possible, just to give them a nice look. Then we have to sew the pocket, we have to sew the handles on, and then we have to sew the lining together with putting the pocket in. So I know that this is going to be exactly the same size as the white one because I left it out deliberately. Okay, so now I am going to sew this one down the side. So again, I want to make sure that my tops line up because I gave myself a little bit of a hem allowance. And then that can go around there. Okay, now I did do this last night, and it's probably very bad of me. All this is a tube of cloth, and I have sewn in some string in the middle, just to make life just that little bit easier for me. And then I can literally pull it out and poke it out. So I have a knitting needle somewhere as well, and that sort of helps. But it's up to you how you sew the strip. Okay, so I'm going to switch the camera off and get up to date with my sewing. What I'll do is get one of these round the right way, and then I'll show you how I did it on a separate piece of paper. Or a separate piece of cloth. Okay, thank you. Okay, I am determined to finish this bag. Oh, it's been naughty, it really has. So I've changed sewing machines. This is just because the other one wasn't sewing the fabric very well at all. So, yes, so we're back on this one, and I've sewn over the inside, the lining, and I've sewn over the outside. I need to do the other handle, which is good, it means you can see it. And I'm going to start by folding it in half, and then with my bit of string I'm going to fold it over and sort of fold it over a couple of times. It's all good. The more times you can sew over this, the better. And then just straight down. Now you do find that machines can kind of have trouble when it gets very warm in the summer. But you know, you just have to find something that works really, don't you? And I think that's the only problem with my other machine. So rather than trying to iron it and fold it, what I've done is just sewn down the outside of this bag at the handles. I've left a good inch at the bottom. Sorry, reflecting, can't see. Oh, what worries me. So this is the inch that I haven't sewn, and it's good. It means I can hold it and I've got something firm to hold on to. I've got my knitting needle and a nice blunt end, and I've got my string. And what I'm going to do is a kind of a mixture between, I'm going to pull with the inch that I didn't sew, and I'm going to pull with the string, and I'm going to push with the needle. So, and then hopefully, if I don't push anything out of the ordinary through anything, then what I can do is literally turn it all inside out quite easily. Now if you do too much of one thing, then it's not going to work. So it's all about balance. And you can see why I said go over that a good couple of times, so because you're likely to crash and burn, but there we are. It should go, it's quite a big tube. I've done a lot skinnier than that, and there we are. Now we don't need the end, so we can trim that off, but what we do need is this to lie nice and flat. So what I'm going to do is just do a line of top stitching over the top. There we go. Get the machine going, and a speed you're comfortable with. Same with the other one. So we've nearly got all our bits together, as it were. I have my little purse here with the zip, and then I've got it sewn rough side round the outside. This is because you're not going to see the outside, it's going to be in between the outer bag and the lining, but you are going to see the inside because you're going to look at it for change. So that's why we've got it round that way. Now the next job is to sew the inner bag with the pocket into this. So I'm going to turn the lining inside out, and the lining's a lot shorter than the outer bag. That's so that we can sew the handles and have a little overflap. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the lining and I'm going to line it up with all the seams that are there. So what I should have now is outside to outside. And then I'm going to sew it so that when I push it down, then we've got that roll over top again. So let's get this handle out of the way. Now it's up to you whether you do pins. It's a good idea too. That means that if you don't, it doesn't twist or anything. I suppose it's just confidence, isn't it? So I'm just going to ease it over the seam beforehand, and then I'm going to line up the next seam, and then I'm going to hold it together there. So make sure I don't sew anything on the back. And again, I'm going to hold to the next seam, make sure they're all lined up, and oopsie, just sew away. And halfway through here, what I need to do is I need to get this pocket sewn in. Now, what I think the best way would be just a couple of stitches, and I'm going to need it sticking out like that so that it will be the right way round. Okay, let's get started, shall we? So I've got my seam there, I'm coming up to the middle. There we are. Now, yes, what I'm going to do is I'm going to literally lift off the lining and I'm going to sew. And be careful not to sew over any of the metal parts of the zip, and what I can do is just sort of tuck it so that we know that it's not actually going to the zip, and then I can just hold that straight. There we are. I'm going to take it out of the machine, zip all and everything, and then I'm going to go back from the original seam that I started sewing at. I'm going to place that in the machine, and all I need to do is I need to sew up to this pocket. So literally, I've sewn up to the pocket. I'm going to put a couple of stitches on the pocket, then I'm going to lift my foot up again, and I'm going to get this zip, which is open, the other side of the foot so that I can do my continue stitches. So that's all out of the way. And in fact what I'm doing is I'm sewing along the previous stitches, because remember I did that in lime green. Yeah, so I suppose we can't really blame the bag for me having issues with it if I was sewing with lime green stitches. So let's go and get rid of everything. So what I've just done there is I've ripped the stitches on the zip. Okay, so I'm just taking it out inside out, and so they're the stitches that I just popped. I know, really not ideal. And what I'm going to do now is I am just going to run over the stitches again, just to make sure that that hidden pocket along the lining is all nicely sewn up. So because it was that nice sheeting, I didn't damage the fabric in any way. And there we go, perfect. So let's have a look. Good shake, get the corners into the corners. I must admit I quite like to do a tacking stitch on here. I have my zip in place and I have one handle ready to go. Now the way I'm going to sew these handles on is probably fold in half, a nice pin to mark where the centre is, and then I'll put them either side. Okay, I'll finish my handle and then get that all ready to go. I'll switch off for a minute. Hi! Okay, let's move the machine back a bit. and then it'll all make sense. So I've marked the middle, on the back, and I've marked where I'm going to put the handles, and I've marked on the back as well. This is just because it's these silly little things that really make a bag or ruin a bag. So I can put that outside there for a minute. I've done my top stitching on my thing, but what I want to just show you, and they were the same size when they started out, is look at the difference. So let's trim our handles so that they're the same length. Okay, so that's that done. Got my handles and I've got my bag. Now I just put that over there. I need to sew my handles like that. Good idea to lay them flat before we start. I'm going to fold over my loose ends, and then I'm just going to re-put that pin in, and I'm going to sew my handles in from the inside. So I'm folding over 1/2 inch, folding over here and folding over here. Now, because I've put my line of top stitches on the outside, I'm going to put my line of top stitches on the outside again, and I'm going to come round and do exactly the same, but because I'm using the pins as markers, I can get everything super duperly lined up. So I know, and it really does, it just makes the difference. And I'm going to go for that nice cross thing. You know exactly what I mean. I can grab a pen and a bit of paper. So I'm going to sew like that. Yeah, so I've got my nice cross. Yeah, and I'm going to take as long as I like. Yeah, because this is now my bag. Yes, I know, it's very naughty of me. It was for somebody else, but it's now my bag. I can make her another one. This is probably why I've had such trouble sewing it. It's because I don't want to give it away. I'm terrible, aren't I? Oh well. I'm sure hers will be nicer. But it is a lot to ask, isn't it? Concentrating on filming and everything. Okay, so I'm going to start off doing my line down. I'm going to leave my needle down. I'm going to lift my foot up. I'm going to turn my fabric. You're going to get bored of this one. I'm going to get it lined up so that I'm going right the way down, and I've made sure that my loose ends of my handle are all tucked in as well. Okay, got my machine sewing. Oh, lovely. And away we go. So, straight across, everything's tucked in. I'm going to take my time. I've got it on a nice small stitch, and now I'm just doing my last line and I'm back to the beginning. Okay. Yes, and now I'm going to actually find the foot. So that's one done. And yes, make sure it's all very neat and everything's tucked in, okay? And if you want to hand tack that first, then that's a good thing to do as well. Okay, so I've got a little bit of sewing to do. What I'm going to do is finish this, and then I'll take pictures of it for the little foot thumbnail thing, and but I'll give it an iron first. Alright, thank you ever so much for watching. Please thank you for bearing with me whilst I've been a bit... But I turned the handle inside out. Oh no, I don't want to do that. Okay, anyway, bless you all, and thank you ever so much for watching. Please like, subscribe and share.